Hey guys, I'm doing my Q&A video and I'm going to try doing soft spoken, which is something I haven't done in forever because I'm a bit shit at it. I'm a bit shit at doing soft spoken, but I'm going to do my best. So I did a post, and I asked for some questions. I wasn't sure I'd get any, but I got a load, so thank you so much. I think I had about 10 comments, and each comment had a few questions in there, so I've got lots of content to work with. So I'm just going to do them in the order that they come up on my screen. So I'm going to do them like one comment at a time, right? And I'm going to answer all the questions I got unless I accidentally miss something out. So my first questions were from someone that always comments on my videos, and we've cracked a few jokes about paratas and whatnot. And it's JCO175, but I don't know your actual name. And I don't know if you want to share your actual name, but thank you for always leaving comments. In fact, I think most of these comments are from people that have left other comments on my other videos, so really grateful to all of you for showing an interest. Anyway, JCO175, let's go. So to start off, what inspired you to start making videos? I think it was just the fact I watch ASMR constantly, okay, and I basically just wanted an outlet, and I've watched other people making videos, and for years, I mean, I've been watching it since I was about like 14, 15, and for years I've thought I'd like to make a channel, but I think you put creators on a pedestal and you think no one would watch my channel. And I think that's the biggest fear people have, is it's like a fear of rejection. It's a fear of either being rejected or receiving a load of hate. But I realised with ASMR that people just don't really get that much hate. It's quite a welcoming space. And in terms of being ignored, like, that's not even a bad thing. You know, if no one sees it, then why would I be embarrassed? So I thought I may as well just try it. And I went for pre-loved ASMR because I have so many knickknacks. I have so much cool shit. That I was like, I just want to talk about my little thrifty finds, you know. So yeah, who are the ASMR creators you enjoy? Any recs? Yes, I have. So on my channel page, I guess I have a public playlist. And on that playlist I have a list of all my favourite ASMR videos. Most of them are maybe not as lo-fi as mine, right? But it's relatively lo-fi for the most part. And then my absolute favourite ASMR videos, I still add to it. If I see new videos I like, I'll add videos to it. But if I'm awake at night, then you can almost guarantee I'm watching any one of those videos. I've made a list actually here of just some channels, but I'm so addicted to ASMR. I watch a ridiculous amount of ASMR. So gentle whispering, obviously. I do prefer gentle whispering's older videos, especially, you know, like the Alice in Wonderland book flip through, or there's one where she turns you into a Russian doll. I think that was one of my like first go-to videos that I kept going back to. And then Yang Ha Ying, she does videos in English and French, and she's just a very chilled out older woman. 90s fairy ASMR, relatively lo-fi videos, but she has the best whisper ever, like a really clicky, is preppy the word? I don't know if that's an insult, but I mean it in a good way, like very clicky American voice, and she has these beautiful, I should probably hide mine, she has these beautiful long fingernails, and she typically does like magazine flip throughs, and you can't see her face, you can only see like her mouth down, but you can tell, somehow you can tell that she's beautiful. Actually, I also have on here Nefertiti ASMR. I think she does English and French videos. But when she started out, you could only see her, maybe just her mouth down. But now she's revealed her face, and again, some people just have like a beautiful energy. I have ASMR Toning, who's really good at all types of different hairstyles. They're quite lo-fi videos, and she'll kind of walk around and chat while she's doing hairstyles. They're typically on mannequins. I don't know if I'll pronounce this properly. Tinan ASMR. She is a Finnish lady. Really, really incredible accent, and she makes her own jewellery as well. I just love her like day-to-day, daily life in Finland videos. Junia ASMR. Junia ASMR is my current favourite ASMR artist. She is a Russian lass. I think she's like at very early 20s. I think she's younger than me. And she is so cool, and she is so hilarious, and her videos are just great. She does quite a lot of like languages and linguistics videos about like words she likes or doesn't like in English and Russian, or she is probably my best recommendation if you haven't seen her videos yet. I then have Amal Zeddy. In American, I guess it'd be Amal ZD. I think she is an icon, and again, she's very dry sense of humour, but I just find her really comforting to watch. And then I have ASMR Joni as well, who does quite a lot of role plays. I don't always opt for role plays. I prefer kind of chatty videos, but I love Joni's role plays. I love anything she'd have. So many. Daria Loshkina ASMR. Some of her older videos I really liked as well. Okay. Outside of ASMR, what hobbies do you enjoy? I like anything artsy, craftsy. I like going to museums and galleries. I like baking. I like going for walks. Not running. Never running. Never jogging. I never jog. I just like going for walks. I quite like swimming. But there's a very short time period in the UK where swimming is actually a good idea, just because of the weather. I like seeing my friends. I see my friends quite often. I'm quite a sociable person. I love pub quizzes, things like that. Any kind of fun activity with friends I like. Okay. Any plans for more tattoos? No actual plans, but I want more tattoos. But typically I just go for flash, so I'll probably just keep an eye on. If there's anything I like, I'll get it. Best and worst things about living in London. I'll start with the worst things. Obviously it's so expensive. But then to counter that, I think because there is so much going on, there are always free things to do as well. There are always free exhibitions, free events, free, people give like freebies out in the street, I think. Beside rent and living costs in terms of food, I think there are lots of entertainment options for a low budget. But obviously rent is awful. Pollution I've written down as another thing, that when I get a train to York, for example, and I can literally get on the train, get off the train again, and I feel like my lungs have been like, you can feel the difference. And especially in summer with the pollution, it's not good. My favourite things about London, the reason I'm here, is because I love the culture, I love the history, I love, the first thing I did when I moved to London was go to Charles Dickens's house and just little things like that. Or I like going to the Globe. I love going to the theatre. There are just always things on. It's that there are so many significant cultural, important things that have happened here historically and are still happening. So yeah, I really like that. Further to that, because it's such a multicultural city, I like that. I feel like I'm always meeting new people, I'm always learning new things. There's so much good food here because there are so many different cuisines. I've had food here that I've never tried anywhere else, or food I've never seen anywhere else, and I love that. I'm a big foodie, not necessarily an adventurous eater, but the food I like, I really like. Okay, you're the omnipotent ruler of the world. What one thing do you outlaw forever? Sorry, the word outlaw just makes me think of cowboys. Frisbee. Ultimate frisbee, any type of frisbee. What worldly advice would you give to yourself 10 years ago? I think my anxiety kind of slowly crept up on me. I'd say while I was at university, maybe it started around 10 years ago. There are lots of little things that I wouldn't try. I'd be scared of trying, or even little things like I stopped riding a bike, and just like daft things like this, or I'd stop trying new foods because I thought I knew what I liked, or I suppose I just became a bit closed-minded to opportunities, if you get what I mean. And I actually think it made my anxiety quite a bit worse. I think I just stopped exposing myself to things, and I think maybe it's, as you leave your teenage years, you almost, you're not in school anymore, you're starting to live the life you want to live, and it's almost like you're not being forced to do things that you don't want to do. I didn't have to learn maths anymore, or biology, or whatever. I could just learn about the things I wanted to learn, and eat the things I want to eat, and do the things I want to do. And I actually think I kind of made myself anxious. I basically didn't push myself. I basically have no self-control. Have self-control is the advice. No, just try new things. Because just kind of giving up on things. There are things I thought, I don't want to do that. I don't feel like riding a bike. I don't feel like going for a walk by myself. And eventually you start to fear the things you don't do. Or I do anyway. I start fearing things when I'm not exposed to. So yeah, just expose yourself to more stuff, I guess. What is your dream tattoo? I have tattoos that I love, but I could never get because they're... I didn't even name the commenter. This is, again, I don't have a name unless this is your name, in which case I'm so sorry. Uno tarotu. I couldn't guess what language that is. Maybe you could tell me. I'm so sorry if I butchered that. Okay, and first question. What is your dream tattoo? My dream tattoo, the ones that I really want, I guess it's a dream because I know I couldn't actually get them. There are a few. There's I want the classic love heart on the arm with mum in it. And then I want, my partner's had a few tattoos by this one artist who's really cool. And he gets his tattoos from an old book, an archive of prison tattoos from 1850 onwards, and there are some really awful tattoos that have been done in prisons, but there's one in particular which is Napoleon's head, but it's so badly done. But I love it because I love the entire history of it being something that a prisoner got in 1870 whatever, but I couldn't get it because people people wouldn't understand the context of that. And as much as I say I don't care what people think, I do have my limits. Do you have Letterboxd? And if yes, what is your top 4? I don't have Letterboxd, but I could try and name 4. I don't know if Letterboxd allows you to have like groups of films, or if you just have to pick one. So my first is the Rocky Horror Picture Show, 100%. My second one, I was going to say Lord of the Rings, but if I had to pick one, it would be Return of the King. Beyond that, let me have a think. I watched Gladiator with my dad for the first time a couple of months ago, and I sobbed. I loved it. So I actually think that could go on there. I haven't seen Gladiator 2 yet, but Gladiator 1 could definitely go on there. And what else have I seen recently? I don't know. You could ask me this question, 7 days a week, and every day I'd have a different answer. I think my last film would maybe be Shrek 2, because Shrek 2 is the best Shrek. Okay, do you prefer shows or movies? I like the shows that I like. There are certain shows I will rewatch and rewatch and rewatch. So like The Office US is one of those. I also like What We Do in the Shadows. I like, I find it hilarious, but my friends don't like it. What's it called? With Tim Robinson. I Think You Should Leave with Tim Robinson. I think that's one of the funniest shows I've ever seen in my life. But my friends will hate it. And I will rewatch things which I know I like. Gilmore Girls is another one. But I'm terrible at being recommended new things, because if I don't like the first episode, I'll just give up. So if I'm home alone, I'll typically watch the shows I like on repeat. But if I'm seeing something for the first time, I prefer it to be a movie. What's the strangest compliment you've received? This is a difficult one, because I've had like, oh, you look like such a person, and I never really think I look like the people that I'm being told I look like. But I think the weirdest compliment I've received, I remember I was in Vienna with a couple of my friends, and we were just in a supermarket, and I was like in the queue while my friends were still shopping about, and I remember this man, it wasn't that weird, it was the way he said it that was weird. A man came up to me, and I think he was like trying to hit on me, right? So solid effort, but he came right up to me, right in my ear, and he went, "You look so good. You look so good." And I remember I just laughed in his face, and I think obviously it was a language barrier, but the way he said it, I was like, this man's gonna fucking eat me. He's gonna devour me. You know what I mean? Like, you look so good. That's like, you'd say that to a burger. Right? What's a makeup product you couldn't live without? Probably lipstick, and I never wear it I think people think I don't wear lipstick, but my natural lip colour is so pale. I look borderline dead. So, I'd say lipstick, and then I often like put a little bit on my cheeks as well, and my eyelids. I think when I've got a bit of a tan as well, my freckles are out a little bit, that it looks quite natural, it looks quite nice. Okay, thank you so much. Uno tarotu. Thank you. Martin has asked, can you suggest a few historical figures you would like to meet, and why? I thought I wouldn't be able to think of this on the spot, so I've written 3 people down. The first is Diogenes. If you're not familiar with Diogenes, he was a Greek cynic philosopher, and he lived in a barrel for like half the year. Like, he was just a really weird guy, and he basically like renounced all material, earthly possessions, and he was like a naturist, kind of literally living in a barrel, doing his own thing. And my favourite story about Diogenes, I don't know if it's true, I think it's one of these myths, is Alexander the Great apparently came to his city. I don't know if it was Athens at this point. He came somewhere nearby, and Diogenes was sunbathing, and Alexander the Great came up to him and said, because he was like a famous philosopher at the time where Alexander the Great really wanted to meet, and Alexander kind of strutted in. He said, "Is there anything I can do for you?" You know, trying to be like this big, great, powerful leader. And Diogenes was like, "Yeah, fucking move, because I'm trying to sunbathe and you're blocking my light." I love to meet Diogenes. I then have Mary Shelley, the author of Frankenstein, because she was a proper freak. Like, she was just a weird girl. If you like, I won't get into it, but she was freaky deaky. And I just think I'd get on with her. I just think she'd be a hoot and a half. And then also Charles Dickens, just because, like I said, I love his works. And apparently he was quite fun to be around. He always wore like funky waistcoats and whatever was appropriate for Victorian gentlemen to wear. I can't remember if I said these questions are from Martin. Thank you, Martin. Thank you so much. Is there a secret London place that you enjoy that most people might not know about? Not really. I'm not gonna. I suppose it depends, because there are things that I'd recommend to a tourist in London as opposed to someone that lives in London. But one place I really love for both Londoners and non-Londoners might not know about is a place called Abney Park Cemetery, and it's just a really beautiful, overgrown cemetery, and it's such a peaceful, lovely place. It's not massive. There's also Highbury Cemetery, which is more well known because I don't know if Karl Marx is buried there, but his grave is there. And yeah, it's just really stunning. And then after you're done in Abney Park Cemetery, you can go over to a place called Sonora Taqueria, which does a really good tacos. What are your favourite UK places that you've visited or lived in? So I grew up in Manchester, and I loved it there. I absolutely loved it there. And I think if I wasn't from Manchester, I'd probably have moved there. But I think I just wanted to try new places and move around, and I think the only city that has more going on than Manchester is London. People would disagree with that. People would say no, Sheffield and Leeds and Birmingham are better, but no, Manchester and London are the two cities. Another place I visited, sorry, I've got the worst pins and needles ever. I'm gonna have to walk around. Another place I visited that I loved was Whitby, and that's because I love Dracula. And just north of Whitby there's a little, I think it's just north, is a little coastal town called Robin Hood's Bay, and it's tiny, but it's so eerie and spooky. Absolutely love both. But then in terms of beaches in the UK, I love Cornwall, but I've only ever really been to Newquay, but I think Newquay has the nicest beaches in the UK. I've been told that I think the Isles of Scilly and a couple more of the islands around the UK also have really nice beaches. Isle of Wight maybe, but I've never been to those. I'd like to go to those. And finally, Edinburgh. I love Edinburgh. I lived in York while I was at uni, and I really, really liked York, but I think I just exhausted it a bit. I feel like I did everything there was to do, and I think I was too young to be living in York at the time I did. I love Edinburgh because Edinburgh felt like somewhere between Manchester and York. I really liked Edinburgh. It's so lovely, and I'd love to see more of Scotland. I've only been to Glasgow, and Edinburgh, and I liked Glasgow as well, actually. But I'd like to see more of the UK. There are so many places I'd like to go to. If you had to immediately talk about a subject for 10 minutes without any preparation, what would be your chosen topic? I've been known to give little history lectures to my friends, whether they like it or not. I think that's something that I can talk about quite openly. It's something, and there are certain parts of history that really pique my interest. If I had to give a presentation, about something I really know about, it would probably be history. It might be, I don't know, the English Civil Wars or the Industrial Revolution, or kind of basics of history I could probably give a presentation on. But if it was just in terms of something I'm really passionate about, something I really love, it would just be like thrifting and vintage and second-hand things. I could talk about antiques and all day, all the different trinkets I like, and fashions I like, and periods I like, and furniture I like. I could talk about that non-stop. So thank you so much, Martin. Okay, next up, Mademoiselle Jules. Mademoiselle Jules. I'm guessing your name is Jules, but if you prefer Mademoiselle Jules, then so be it. Thank you so much for commenting and leaving some questions. The first is, what is your strongest sense? Is it hearing? This is really difficult. Strongest in terms of power. Probably hearing. I have good vision. I do have a very weak prescription glasses, but it's so weak that it's negligible. There's no point in me wearing them. Maybe hearing's my strongest sense. And I constantly need to be listening to music. I can't do anything without sound. I don't even remember the sound of silence. So, it's probably going to be hearing. What's your favourite non-ASMR sound? That's a tough one because, again, it's music, right? And anything. Music doesn't give me ASMR. Sometimes I get like goosebumps or whatever from certain music. I like loud music. I like metal music. I like rock music. I like the odd bit of pop music. I like all types of music, really. But other than music, I really like the sound of the sea. And I guess you could say this is ASMR, right? But especially I like the sound of when you go to like a dock or a port and you can hear boats bobbing in the water. Oh, Liverpool is another city I love in the UK. Going back to your question, Martin. Next up from Mademoiselle Jules. What is your favourite smell? Roses. Fresh roses. I don't like artificial rose smells, but I just like, like old lady roses. If your channel had a theme song, what would it be? It would be, I think my channel, I try for it just to be chilled, easygoing vibes. So maybe like a cutesy Paul McCartney song. Maybe there's a song called Some People Never Know by Paul McCartney, and that's really good. Or maybe it's Another Day by Paul McCartney. I never know if these songs are Paul McCartney or Wings. But yeah, I'm going to say Another Day by Paul McCartney. It's just a very plain little sweet song. I have a question from May. Thank you so much, May. What are your 3 favourite songs right now? And again, I've written a list because I'm so indecisive. I knew it'd take me forever to answer otherwise. So these are, as in today, these are my 3 favourite songs. Again, it's one of those things that changes every day. I've been listening to Baby Love by the Supremes non-stop. I love a bit of Motown. And Baby Love is just, I've known the song forever, but I've I've never really given it the time of day, but I love it. Baby Love by the Supremes. I then have Life's a Gas by T-Rex. I love Mark Bolan. I'm in love, I mean, rest in peace, but I'm in love with Mark Bolan. He was so stunning, and I think he deserves as much prestige as David Bowie, in my opinion. Obviously he's very well known, it's not as if no one knows about him, but I think of the glam rockers, Mark Bolan was my king. Okay, and then my third song I've written is by the guy who did Italy's Eurovision entry this year. He's called Lucio Corsi, and it's a song called Situazione Complicata, like complicated situation. It's an Italian song, and it's a little love song about being in love with his friend's wife, basically, and it's just a funny, cute little song. I really like it. So thank you, May. Next questions are from Rosie. Thank you, Rosie. When I was a baby, actually, my family used to call me Rosie, and my mum made up a silly little song, which I'm not going to sing. I'll spare everyone the embarrassment. How did you find ASMR is Rosie's first question. It was actually one of my mates at school, who was some kind of like football lad. But he was really friendly. He was a really lovely guy called Andrew. And I remember once we were just chatting, and I can't remember what we were talking about. I think maybe music or rain sounds or whatever. And he said, "Do you listen to ASMR?" And I said, "What is that?" And he was like, "Oh, it's basically And I remember him describing it to me, and I rinsed him so hard. I was like, "That's the weirdest thing I've ever heard of in my life," as everyone did, right? When everyone discovered it, everyone was like, "That's so weird." And then I went home and watched it, and I was like, "This is so weird, I can't believe you watched this." And then within 2 weeks I was hooked. I remember the first ASMR video I ever watched was by Fairy Char, and I can't remember what it was, but she had one of those microphones with the two ears, and she was whispering into the ears, and I thought it was really weird. Where have you travelled in the world, and where would you really like to go? I've mainly travelled in Europe. I've done like kind of Western Europe. I've done France, Italy, Germany. Most recently I went to Albania, went to Tirana. I loved it there. Budapest and Morocco. I went to Marrakesh with my mum. My mum and I have been doing a few more trips in the past kind of 2 or 3 years, which I love. I love travelling with my mum. She's hilarious. And I enjoy my travels, and there's still a lot of Europe that I'd like to see. But where would you really like to go? I'd love to go to Mexico, and beyond the food and the kind of just general culture, I couldn't give you a specific location. I can't give you a specific reason as to why. It's just something I really want to do. I've met quite a lot of people from Mexico somehow in my life. They've just always been so kind and lovely. And obviously you can't base an entire country just on people you meet, right? But I've heard the same from friends that have been to Mexico as well, that people are just really inviting and warm, and it just strikes me as a very vibrant country. The food I've had, whether it's authentic or not, I couldn't tell you, but the food I have had in the UK or Paris or wherever, in other countries, I've loved. So I'd love to try like authentic Mexican food. I see a lot of of videos from Mexico of people cooking, and I always think it looks really appetizing. Okay. What would your death row meal be, assuming you could have 3 courses? Again, I'm so indecisive. I've just written something down for this. So for my starter, I'd probably have a pea and ham soup, which I know it's strange, right? but I love pea and ham soup. I love it. I think it's a really healing. Is it a British soup? I don't even know. It just strikes me as a homely, comforting thing. And then for my main, and people are going to say, oh, well, no, that's so basic, right? It's so basic. But I'm not worried about being basic if I'm about to be executed, okay? I'm worried about what's going to taste good. So for my main, I'd have a pepperoni pizza with burrata and hot honey. There's a pizza I have at this one pub, and it's called the Wicker Man Pizza, and it's literally that. It's a pepperoni pizza with hot honey and a burrata in the middle, and it's the best pizza on earth. And I know it's not adventurous, I know it's not crazy, but it's tasty. And then for my dessert, I'd want a Costco birthday cake. It's my dream in life to have a Costco birthday cake. I've never had one, but I've tried other people, and it's really, really good. But I'd want it to say happy last day, I'd want it to be something cute, maybe with a candle in it, maybe with a party hat, because I love like a vanilla sheet cake with like American style buttercream, just really indulgent. If you could only keep one carb between potatoes, pasta or rice, which would it be? It would be rice any day of the week. Pasta I only really cook if I'm feeling lazy, and I do like pasta, but it's just not my favourite. Potatoes are kind of more of a competitor, I think, because they're so versatile. But it's rice that I typically eat more when I'm cooking at home. Rice is my go-to. This is quite a lengthy question, but I like it a lot. So, like a lot of other people, I found you through your wonderful tattoo video. Thank you. Your tattoos give the impression of being all about narrative, whether that's a piece of literary inspiration or stylistic imagery. What a beautifully worded statement. What do you think the narrative is that your tattoos tell about you? And what do you think the narrative of your channel is? That's a deep question. That's definitely the deepest question on there. And I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you what my tattoos say about me to other people. Or I don't know how other people. I don't know what the narrative is, right? So I'm not sure there is a narrative, because I don't think, both with my tattoos and with my videos, it's just there's like an element of spontaneity, I guess, with it, of whatever I want to do in the moment. If I like this tattoo, if I see it's a flash tattoo for the first time, I'll book it in because I want to get it. And I think spontaneity and kind of indulging yourself a bit is maybe the narrative of I guess I wouldn't even call it being like free-spirited. I think it's more just backing yourself and trusting your decisions and having a real sense of self. I don't know if I explained that very well, but it's basically I'm just doing what I want, and my choices might not make sense to other people, but I'm comfortable in them and I'm happy with them, and that applies to the tattoos I get and to the videos I make. And yeah, I feel very, when I find the world a very scary place and I get very overwhelmed and frightened, I like nothing better than to actually just sit like this and talk at my phone and listen to myself, and I find myself a reassuring person to be with. Next up, we have questions from Sweet Potato. Thank you, Sweet Potato. So first question, what's your favourite animal and why? Hedgehogs. I love, like this actually, this looks a bit like a hedgehog. I love hedgehogs. I think they're so adorable. I think the reason for this is my brother and I, when we were younger, found a hedgehog that had maybe been hit by a car or something. It was in a car park, and we put it in a cardigan and we cycled it back home, and we put it in a cardboard box, and we fed it like worms and shit, whatever we could find that hedgehogs are supposed to eat. We tried to rescue it, but then we woke up the next day and it had passed away, and it was really sad. And we called it pork scratchings. Pork scratchings. Pork scratchings, the hedgehog. And I think that's when my love for hedgehogs started. It started with a loss, a big loss. But also I like Mrs. Tiggy Winkle, you know, the Beatrix Potter character. I think she's adorable. And every time I see a hedgehog, I imagine it like hanging its washing out. Okay, next. What's your favourite colour and why? Red, I think. Red has been consistently my favourite colour throughout my life. I like different colours for different things. But I could quite happily paint all the walls in my house red. And I find it it's a very rich colour, especially like maybe like this type of red. I don't know if you can see that very well. Like a wine red. I'm gonna have some of this actually because I'm dehydrated. Yeah, maybe like a wine red. I just think it's a very passionate colour. I love anything kind of passionate and gaudy and strong. I like strong colour. You could travel anywhere right now. Where would you go and why? Maybe to a beach in the south of France. I have a friend who lives in the south of France actually. She lives near Bordeaux, and I miss her terribly. So maybe I'd go see her. But yeah, I've really had it like an aching recently to go to the south of France. I've never been, but I'd like to check it out. Sweet Potato has also asked, what was your biggest challenge in life so far, and what has been your biggest blessing? My biggest challenge, I've got such a very, very privileged life. So in terms of challenges, like I've never had anything that I haven't put myself through, if that makes sense. I haven't had terrible things happen to me necessarily. You know, I've had like grandparents pass away. I've had losses, and I've had some sad things happen to people I love, and I've been through some really like dark places emotionally. I've had such severe anxiety and quite severe depression at times. But I think my biggest challenge, I would say, is probably just moving to London, which doesn't sound that big, and I think a lot of people, especially Southerners, don't see it as a big deal moving to London, whereas I think for Northerners, for some reason, it's a bit more of a hurdle getting to London. There is a bit of a wealth disparity between the north and the south, and I think it just feels like a much bigger step. And even though my family are only a couple of hours away on a train, it just feels quite distant. And you know, I did a year abroad as part of my degree where I lived in Paris, but that didn't feel quite as challenging because I always knew I was coming home. Whereas now I'm in London, because it's kind of indefinite, right? And I don't really have a life plan. I'm only 26 now. I don't have a life plan, and I think that's quite a challenge, kind of, you know, just considering you know, parents are getting old and I'm down here and my siblings are up there. I've got a niece up north and I've still got friends up north, and trying to kind of weigh up, you know, well, why do I want to be in London, and at what point is it not worth sacrificing those things or kind of reducing my relationships with people. I think that's probably my biggest challenge, but it's a fun challenge. It's a challenge I'm enjoying, and if I didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't be here. I think my biggest blessing is the fact that I'm alive and I'm healthy. And my parents always say that being here, especially, I live in the UK, I was born in the UK, so were my parents. Being born here in the time we're in, of any period in history there ever has been, and in any place in history there ever has been, we're very, 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 very lucky to be born into this life. And I'm so grateful every day when I look at the shit going on in the world today, or if I look at times in history in the UK where things have been awful. I think, thank goodness that I'm here now. I think that's my biggest blessing, just being grateful for my existence itself, because there was billions and trillions of different factors and little kind of butterfly effect things that led to me existing here and now. Thank you so much, sweet potato. Vince, thanks for your question, Vince. Vince has asked, if money wasn't a concern, what would you work towards? That's a really good question. It would be something creative. I'd want to do something creative. I'd want to do something helpful. And I think that could be in any capacity. I don't know, I'd give anything creative a go. I'd try writing. I'd try teaching art classes. I'd try helping out in theatres, or just anything creative would be really great for me. I'd also like to take language classes. I'd like to learn more languages. Yeah, I don't know. It's a difficult thing. When you say work towards, that makes me feel like I should be saying volunteering or something. Maybe I'd volunteer in something creative. Honestly, I don't know. Thank you, Vince. I think that was Vince's only question. I'm so sorry if there was another one I've missed. I think there were some questions I've answered elsewhere, so I might have crossed those out. Okay, next up from Sandra. Sandra, thank you so much. You have asked, what are your favourite and least favourite ASMR triggers? My favourite triggers are just whispers, clicky whispers, breathy whispers, just soft-spoken, rambling, show and tell, basically the kind of stuff I do. But obviously I don't watch my own videos, right? I like other people doing it. I like tapping sounds. I don't care about nails or no nails, either way works for me. And my least favourite ASMR, it's less an ASMR trigger and more of an ASMR videos. I hate these. I don't really like shorts. I made shorts for a while and then I realised I don't like the lack of kind of intention in them. And I don't like these LED lit, very plastic heavy fidget toy. They almost feel like mass manufactured, like fast fashion ASMR. And I can't explain what I mean, but these like 60 triggers in 60 seconds, let's go. And then it's like challenges, and I don't know, I like my ASMR to feel like I'm just sat with someone in their bedroom, and that's the vibe I try to give as well. I mean, we literally are sat in my bedroom. I don't like the ASMR for the sake of ASMR. Does that make sense? I don't like triggers that are all about triggers, and I also don't like no talking videos. If I watch ASMR, it has to have talking in it. Okay, Sandra has also asked, what was your favourite and least favourite subject in school? My favourite subject was art. I liked history as well, but art I think was always my favourite. My least favourite was biology, I think. I wouldn't say I'm squeamish necessarily, but biology just, maybe I am a bit squeamish actually. There were lots of things in biology I didn't like. I found it really boring. I'm also just not a very scientifically minded person. I much preferred physics actually. Chemistry was okay. I loved physics. Hated biology. Do you have any specific goals you want to achieve in life? Yes, and these are two things I've wanted for my entire life, and it's the only two things I've ever wanted in my life. The only goals I've ever had have been to get a dog and to have a house, and maybe not even buy a house, but just have a house that I can decorate and do up, and just have a really nice home. It's a big goal. And yeah, have a dog. Just get a dog. I always used to want a massive dog. I'd want like a Bernese Mountain Dog, a Saint Bernard, or an Old English Sheepdog. For years I told myself I'm going to get an Old English Sheepdog and I'm going to call it Martha. Because that's what Paul McCartney's sheepdog was called. But my boyfriend's allergic to dogs, so we've agreed that if we are to get a dog, it's going to be a Scottish Terrier, which I think is still adorable. Even though it's not a big dog, it wouldn't even feel like a compromise because I love Scottish Terriers. We'd get a black Scottish Terrier. Okay. I love this question. Do you have a saying or a quote that you live by? I have a few quotes that I really like, and I've written them down. Actually, there are so many, but there are a few that come into my mind quite frequently, and these are the ones that came to mind when I read your question. So the first two of them are Beatles quotes. The first one is actually just by John Lennon, and it's "Time you enjoy wasting isn't wasted." I really like that. Quite often if I'm alone and I'm not with friends, I feel like I'm wasting time because I'm not creating memories. But yeah, time you enjoy wasting isn't wasted. I like that. And the second's a bit cringe because it's from Hey Jude. For well you know that it's a fool who plays it cool by making his world a little colder. A fool plays it cool by making his world a little colder. I've always liked that line. Not only because of Paul McCartney's voice, I think it's a strong message that a lot of people, play it cool by being cold, and that's being cold isn't cool. Another one is one I heard quite recently, and it's by an old man who makes ASMR slash I don't know what you'd call it, like not therapy videos, but like maybe like as existential discourse videos. But he's an old man. He has the best ASMR voice ever. You've probably seen him. He's called John Butler, and I watched one of his videos, and in the video he says something about having your feet on the floor. If you're ever anxious, you're not sure about something, you feel a bit unsafe, just putting your feet in contact with the floor and standing on your feet is physically grounding, and it's something I've started doing, and just reminding myself like this is a floating piece of rock that we're all living on, and I'm part of it. It's like planting yourself almost like a tree, putting your feet on the floor and reminding yourself that you're being supported by the earth itself, and you can breathe. And I think it's just a little mindfulness thing, put your feet on the floor. Put your feet on the floor. And then this other one is something I quote a lot, and it's George Orwell, Animal Farm. If you haven't read it, please do. Please do. If you can't be asked reading 1984, definitely read Animal Farm. And it's all animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. And I won't spoil the story if you haven't read it, but it's just a very, very, for such a short book, it's such a powerful message. And I just think it's very relevant. It'll never stop being relevant. George Orwell's work becomes more relevant every day, I think, especially 1984 and Animal Farm. All animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. And it's basically about totalitarianism. It's about political gaslighting, and it's about critical thinking and standing up to things that aren't right, and not being a sheep, right, in the literal sense of the word. And I just think it's very just please read Animal Farm if you haven't already. The next question was, what's a surprising fact about you? And I don't think I'm a remotely surprising person. I could only think of 2 things I do or have done which surprised people. People are always surprised by the amount of coffee I drink. I will drink coffee from the second I wake up to the second I go to bed, and it doesn't impact my sleep. I sleep very, very well. I'm always tired, actually, which is probably because of the coffee or low iron or something. But I can drink coffee all day long, and I can still go to sleep. I don't feel that it affects me that much. I love coffee. And the other thing that once surprised my friends, which I found hilarious, we were at a pub quiz, and it was a music round, and it was one of these, name the song, name the artist, and Jesus Walks by Kanye West came on. I was like, oh, it's Kanye. And my friends were crying, laughing, because they could not believe that I listened to Kanye West. And I don't actively listen to Kanye West, but they thought, apparently, if it was like a Venn diagram, you'd have Kanye in one bubble and me in the other, which I didn't see. But I guess if my best friends were surprised by that, then maybe you are as well. But I can't think of anything actually surprising, I'm afraid. Finally, from Sandra, what's something you'd like to tell us that nobody asked you about? It's a bloody good question, isn't it? I don't think I have anything further to say. I mean, if I do, I'll just say it in my next video. But I'd just like to say thank you all for asking these questions. I suppose I'm amazed I got any questions. I was convinced it was going to be a dead response. So thank you. Alright, next up, and finally, actually, our final comment is from Felicity. This one came through today, I think earlier today. So if I haven't answered your questions, I'm so sorry. If I have missed anything, I'm filming this on Saturday evening, so on Friday evening. So if you've posted a comment after that, then I might not get round to it. But I can try and answer them in my next video or whatever, I suppose. So Felicity has commented, what did you study in college? I don't know if you're British or not, Felicity, but so we call college university in the UK, but maybe you are from the UK and you're referring to sixth form college, I don't know. But at university I studied history and French. It was a joint honours. Absolutely loved it. I think everyone should study history. I think it should be compulsory for people to study history until the age of 18. I really think it's important, and not even necessarily being taught the history, but being taught how to think critically about sources, especially in this day and age. I think people sorry, I know this isn't part of the question. People assume that today it's a lot easier to think critically. I think people think that because of technology and whatnot, they know how to people think they know history, right? But when so much of the world relies on technology and man-made things, looking at historical sources isn't the same as it used to be, and we're relying a lot on other people's research, on other people's opinions. And I think it's so important to learn to look into things for yourself and ask questions, and I think that's what history does. It forces you to be curious. You need to constantly ask questions. And I know, in at uni, they always used to say, you should always leave asking more questions than you came with. You should always ask, okay, well, why did this happen, and why did that happen, and who made this happen? Everything has, again, that butterfly effect. And I do look at Israel and Palestine now, right? And I see all these pro-Israel. I've started getting actual Israel propaganda on my YouTube, and it's AI propaganda. It's so blatantly misinformation. I still see people supporting the genocide in Palestine. And I think, what version of history have you read? Or you haven't read history is my first thought. You know, what has made you support Israel the way you do? What are your beliefs, and what are they based on? Because anyway, so I studied history and French. If you are British and you're asking about sixth form college, I studied so for like my A-levels I did history, art, French and classical civilizations. Oh no, I didn't do history. What did I do? Fuck. I did English, art, French and classical civilizations. What do you do for work? I wish I could answer, but I can't. And it's not because I'm not a spy or whatever. It's just because I don't want to give my data away, and I think people could find me if I told you what I did for work. But I can't tell you what my job is, but I work with people from all over the world, all different nationalities, all different backgrounds, all different types of people. And I really like my job. I really like that, and my job is I help people as part of my job. Okay. How many languages do you speak, and how did you learn them? I'm afraid you were expecting a better answer than this, but I only speak English fluently. I speak French proficiently, or I used to speak it semi-fluently. But since uni ended, honestly, I haven't kept up with it, which is why I've started doing videos in French a bit more. I'm trying to relearn. I can understand French very, very well. If you were to give me a book, I could probably read it and understand 99% of the words. My written French is quite good. If I can take the time to think about what I'm writing, I'm quite good at that. It's mainly my spoken French and listening I do struggle with these days. And it's all just because I'm out of practice, really. I did learn French to a very high level, and then I let it drop, which I'm embarrassed to say. And then I took some voluntary Italian classes. I studied Italian for 2 years. I had one class every week at uni, but I didn't pick it up quite as easily as I picked French up. I think I find it quite difficult to learn different languages at once. I know a lot of people manage to do it. And I thought because I was already quite proficient in French that I could start Italian and not get confused. But I think maybe because they sound so similar. Fun story, actually. I didn't revise for my second year Italian exam. I revised a bit like the night before, but because it was voluntary, I was more worried about my other exams. So I went in and I basically spoke French in an Italian accent, and I still got a 2-1. I got like 65%. So well done me. But also my Italian teacher was a babe. I loved her so much. Okay. But yeah, I'm still trying to teach myself a bit of Italian as well. But I'm trying to do Italian and French in drips and drabs. Final question is, what is your favourite hobby? This is my favourite hobby at the minute. I think I love making my videos. I love sitting in my bedroom and talking to a camera for an hour or two, and then I like sitting and editing it. I think it's really improved my confidence. I've noticed in like meetings at work, I can give presentations without feeling super anxious or self-conscious. I'm so grateful that my viewers actually show an interest. I'm amazed I got viewers in the first place. I think ASMR, I love watching it, I love making it, and I'd like to try some more, maybe like creative videos. I don't know how. I'm not great at editing videos, and I don't have a camera, I only have my phone. But yeah, I just like this. And not all hobbies have to be super intense and crazy and, cycling up Mount Everest or whatever. This is a hobby, and it's a perfectly valid hobby. And it's a rewarding hobby. Okay. So thank you all so much. Let's go through those names again. Felicity. Thank you so much. Sandra, thank you. Vince, thank you so much. Sweet potato, recently.